guess a couple things to notice with this one. Again, our equation that we originally were given was z equals 2x squared over 25 plus y squared over 100. If I try to plug 0 in, what does x and y have to be? You guys see what x and y have to be? They both have to be 0. So again, that's unique to this one, but that's the point at the very bottom. Okay, so 0, 0, 0 is the trace in the plane z equals 0 is just the point, the origin. We already plugged in 2, and the trace in the plane z equals 2 was an ellipse, and the center was 0, 0, 2, and I'll just draw a picture real quick. Let's see, we had a radius of 5 in the x direction, a radius of 10 in the y direction. So okay, so it's kind of a quick way to write that out. How about if I make y equal to 0? Okay, so I'm making y 0. If I make y 0, then I get the graph of a parabola okay, so my trace is a parabola. That's in the plane y equals 0. I don't know if this software will let me make traces in that direction. It probably does if I play around with the stuff, but the way it's oriented right now, here's my y-axis. So picture slicing this at the y-axis. So picture taking a piece of paper and slicing it through on the y-axis. You can see that parabola. It's the outline of the shape here. So that's why this is called an elliptic parabola, because sometimes my traces gave me ellipses, sometimes my traces will be parabolas. So kind of putting the two different types of traces together, this is called an elliptic paraboloid. Okay, so oid kind of means it's kind of a solid shape. And so if you're slicing it parallel to z, you're going to get ellipses. If you slice it parallel to x or y, you're going to get parabolas. So let's say I made x equal to 4. Okay, if I made x equal to 4, then I would end up getting a parabola also. Okay, so the trace in the plane x equals 4 is this parabola. Okay, so again, one variable squared, the other one's not. So here's x equals 4. It's about right here, so you can kind of like draw that in. So again, if you kind of picture tracing the surface where x equals 4, you're going to get a parabola. This would be the specific equation of that parabola. Okay, so the idea of how to get the traces or the contours is you set one variable equal to a number. often you're setting a variable equal to 0, because that kind of gives you your core traces. So if I set y equal to 0, it kind of gave me a core trace in the YZ plane. If you set it equal to some other number though, you still get a trace, it's just, you know, often a little bit messier of an equation. Okay, and then the types of traces kind of help you understand the names of the shapes. Warren, you'll get your next question.